It's very much in our philosophy that the actors are as free as possible on stage. So, for example, we always have a flat floor so that they can move very easily on it. The plays are never minutely blocked. Often they look choreographed, but in fact they're not. The actors are very free in the space to be wherever they like. All that freedom means that there must be discipline, because there must be a few rules, not too many, but rules must be two things. They must be A, good, and B, useful. So one of the things, there are certain things that we have to be quite disciplined about, and one of the things is about the verse and the text. And we spend a lot of time on the form of the text and the shape of the verse, which is not something we discover by sitting around a table. It's something we do by doing physical exercises in the room, because there's something very sensual about verse, like there's something very sensual about singing. As we know, singing doesn't just come from the head, it comes from the whole body. So verse we discover through running, through moving, and that's very important to us. But the verse has to be absolutely obeyed, so we rigidly adhere to that. The actors have many, many freedoms, but they cannot improvise text on stage. They must absolutely stick to that rule.
Universally in the English tradition of performing Shakespeare, there are a few things which are always agreed upon, which is that the text and the words are the only foundation for your performance. And in the words and the poetry are to be found character, context, shape, psychological truth, and physical action, so that all of the blocking, all of the movement in any Shakespeare production is to be found in the words.
She hath not yet forgot him. Some more time must wear the print of his remembrance on't, and then she's yours. Come, my queen.
Presently, my lord. You are most biased to the king, who lets go by no advantages that may prefer you to his daughter. Frame yourself to overly soliciting, so seem as if you were inspired to do those duties that you tender to her. Ah!
The Queen is a very unreleased woman, because everything that she's doing is intellectual, and it is all forcing the intellectual into action. It isn't about love or anything free flow, everything, and that is why she goes mad, because if you had to control life and people to that extent, you would go mad. You constantly work on the show with Declan, and what is one of the greatest gifts is to listen to the man talk about the show and refer it to life, because his understanding of life is absolutely extraordinary, and his sensitivity is enormous, and he really encourages you, I feel, it has done with me, to really get in touch with your own sensitivity as an actor, but as in that moment, and really what it means, and not being scared to realise what that means, and not being fearful of truth, and not being... It's been quite strange to do this role, because it does... You have to face up to the negative parts of your personality, and you have to acknowledge them.
I tended to think that sort of Posthumous was... I could bring more of myself, Tom Hiddleston, the actor, to Posthumous, and that Cloten was some extreme character that I just had to play. But Declan was absolutely insistent that Cloten had a mask and Posthumous had another mask, and that I as an actor inhabited both of those masks fully and with equal commitment, but that with two people who seem to be standing side by side, their truth is different, and it's been fascinating to be inside the head of two people for whom the truth is different. The colour of things look different.
Your brother and I will play the cook and servant. an angel.
I think the experience with Declan is always is rewarding. His approach is sacred, but also profane. I think he approaches the text with reverence, but also there's a certain amount of pulling away from that sort of reverence for the text. The initial experience in rehearsal with Declan working on a Shakespeare play is the text to begin with, speaking the text to each other, two actors in space, or however many numbers of actors in the space, and the iambic, the verse, is very important initially, but you can discard that as you work with Declan. He's wonderful. He really has a love of Shakespeare.
What Declan does with Shakespeare is he tries to help you find the immediacy of what you're saying, so that everything you say is fresh. It's never been said before, it's never been written before. It's something that's alive in the moment and spontaneous, and he has lots of different ways of helping you so that it sounds like this stuff is being said for the first time.
His deeds to water and those springs of childhood flowers in my eyes, and winking merry ones begin, and to their golden eyes. Everything reveals my lazy heroes.
To make a bridge between what seems like an archaic world and our own modern life, I think it's all there, and I think part of the reason why Shakespeare is performed is because the words may have changed, and superficially the way we live our lives may have changed, but the emotions are the same. And a play like Cymbeline, it's about so many universal things that we still feel, like love and loss and betrayal and jealousy and incomprehension.
I suspect that in another 400 years' time we will still have terrible problems with loss. We will have terrible problems in our families. We will want to believe desperately in redemption, and we will doubt whether or not that redemption exists. We will want terribly much to believe that there is a love that endures all things, and at dark moments in our life we will doubt it, that there will never be love without separation, and that we will die and we won't want to, and we will lose people and we won't want to. And all the glory of being a human being and all the terrible design flaws of being a human being, that we have to endure loss, are still going to be a problem. And Shakespeare writes about that right through the heart of that. He really takes what's central to human life. He takes politics, he takes sex, he takes loss, he takes love. Above all else, he's the great author who's investigated love in all its so many myriad manifestations through his whole life. And that's why I feel very honoured to be a companion of his for my life.